Having all these characters that feel like they're from these different time periods and being able to mesh them all together in one world was a lot of work. We wanted to pay homage to the comics from the 60s and modernize them, and I think it paid off. My name is Jeff Trammell, and I'm the head writer and executive producer for Your Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man.
Stand clear of the closing doors, please.
So here we join Peter in episode 1. This is our first big time seeing him put on the homemade suit, which was a lot of fun to develop. We worked with Leo Romero, who's our lead character designer, to try to figure out a unique look for our Spidey. And this being a homemade suit that he could actually make practically, using some stuff that he got from a secondhand store, as well as these tanks, which were an idea by our supervising producer, Mel Zwire, who thought it'd be cool if Peter had these tanks and these long hoses that hook up so he can kind of like propel his webs that way. As we were trying to figure it out, we were like, oh, it'd be funny if these tanks kind of got in the way of things, so we might see a few clips of that in later episodes. But for now, we're just kind of enjoying the first big swing, seeing Peter the first time as Spider-Man, and already he's inspiring people and making a difference, which is really cool.
We're making pretty good time. I might actually be a little early for once.
And now we're jumping to episode 4.
Hey! Stop that thief!
This guy steals his bag. He's a criminal from 101. But now he encounters Peter in the Prodigy suit. Peter's working with Norman Osborn and Oscorp, and they're producing these suits for him. And one thing that we really liked the idea of was being able to harken back to the comics, to the identity crisis era of the comics, where Peter starts wearing different suits because he's wanted for a crime. So being able to dig into the Prodigy suit here was a big thing, where we thought it'd be cool to see Peter as Prodigy, but practicality reasons it's not going to work with this cape. We all know Spider-Man doesn't wear a cape, so he goes back to Norman, ditches this suit, and is looking for something else he can try out.
Hey, look at that!
And our second suit of episode 4 is the Hornet suit, another identity crisis suit, another slinger suit. This time Peter has to deal with this wing pack, the Hornet pack, that is kind of tossing him all over to and fro. He's not used to this. He's used to a certain level of control as Spider-Man and web slinging, and he kind of has to give that up to work with this pack, as well as deal with things like the stingers and other things that he's not ready for. So he's trying to find a way to express to Norman what goes into being Spider-Man, and Norman is not that receptive at the moment. This was important for us because we wanted to show that, like, Peter is his own hero. He's always going to keep growing, and he'll go with the punches, but at the end of the day, there's a reason he's Spider-Man, and that may not be evident to Norman, but it's definitely evident to Peter. Our third suit, we see Peter try out the Dusk suit. So this is one we wanted to build up, push the drama, so you don't know, like, is this a villain he's gonna fight? Who is this? Who could this be? And then the big reveal, it's Peter, even modulating his voice to be deeper and more scary the first time you see him, and having this kid immediately, like, freak out. Also, we wanted to pay homage to the Spider-Man 2 video game, the scene with the little girl who lost her balloon. So having Peter get this balloon back should be a big hero moment, but the suit he has makes it much more dour, I would say. Now he's kind of complaining to Mr. Osborn again that, like, none of these suits feel right. So we really wanted to, like, hammer home that Peter is a hero and he's already been able to make this work, but Osborn's influence is kind of disrupting his own confidence in himself.
It doesn't matter what those other potential suits you tried offered. They weren't you.
So this is where we get to Norman's kind of big compromise. He's finally listening to Spider-Man. He knows that this is what he needs. This is who he needs to become. But again, in giving Peter this suit that he feels is reflective of the hero Peter can become, he's also not listening to what Peter's looking for. So it's kind of like a monkey's paw wish, and that Peter's getting what he wants, but not the way he wanted it. And Norman is very much like believing in Peter. He wants him to succeed. He gives him this new suit, and Peter is kind of in good faith trying it out. So This is a big moment where this is the first step, our Spider-Man truly becoming Spider-Man in this suit. But as always, things are similar, but a bit different. So we thought using this Oscorp suit that's definitely inspired by the Future Foundation suit would be a fun way to once again kind of like show that Norman's influence is changing things, and Peter is continually rolling with the punches, and this time gets a really cool suit out of it, something that feels like Spider-Man to him and feels like Spider-Man to us, but not exactly what we expect for Spider-Man. And finally, we get to what we expect for Spider-Man in episode 9, as Peter appears in his classic red and blue suit, having saved Nico. I thought this was a really cool moment to showcase the suit, to give everyone what they've been craving, and to finally show Peter at his peak for the season as the titular Spider-Man. He looks majestic. We have the big shot of him with the sun behind him, and now immediately jumping into action, saving Nico. Then finally, we get some good old-fashioned red and blue Spidey facing off against some bad guys. Then episode 5, we see Mikhail. This is moments after Mila has fired a laser blast at him to kind of lure Spider-Man where she wants him. Spider-Man, always self-sacrificing, takes that blast, and now it's down for the count. So now we get to see Mila really exert her will over Spider-Man. She's got him right where she wants him. But luckily for him, Mikhail is very loyal, saves Spider-Man at the last second. Mikhail's great. He's voiced by Travis Willingham, who brings him to life fantastically, and I'm really excited about exploring more of Mikhail's story, which I think is evident by this big threat that he's going to deliver to Spider-Man in a bit. In episode 7, we have the Scorpion, voiced by Jonathan Medina, who just does a fantastic job of bringing everything we needed for Scorpion. We wanted him to feel very scary, wanted this to feel like the biggest challenge that Spider-Man's faced up to this point, and he delivers on all accounts. Seeing that big knee take down Spider-Man shows that Mac's in another class. So the Scorpion is very much a terrifying individual and someone that kind of has Spider-Man on the ropes as he's evolving, trying to learn how he can put down Scorpion and win this fight. Also, having Scorpion have this tail that allows him to fight at both close range and long range just makes him a great all-rounder foil for Spider-Man. Even if Spider-Man's able to whip him up here using what is an homage to The Amazing Spider-Man of wrapping up the lizard, we see that it doesn't take long until Gargan is able to free himself, and it really puts a hurting on Spider-Man. In episode 9, we see Gargan return. Spider-Man has a bit of PTSD following their last run-in, so we established very early on that he's really shocked and afraid to move. So even when he's in these kind of classic red and blues, he's still carrying the trauma from what Scorpion did to him the last time they met. So now Scorpion is beating down Big Don, about to finish their rivalry for good. But luckily, before he can finish off Don, Spider-Man is there to save the day, and we get to see a very classic comic battle of Spider-Man and the Scorpion from the Ditko era come to life in this moment, as these two classic characters and their very reminiscent looks face off in animation for the first time in a very long time.
Such inelegant gangsters.
In episode 8, we see Dmitry Smerdikov make his return from episode 4, this time in his chameleon attire. So we wanted to do something for Chameleon where he felt like his comic version, but also didn't infringe on, let's say, Mr. Knight from the Moon Knight series. So finding a way that we could really dig into what makes that classic character look work so well. And Leo and our team were able to adapt that for our animated series in a way that I think is super fun. We had a lot of conversations about, should the mouth move? Should the mouth not move? And we decided to kind of keep that just mouth slit that feels so reminiscent of the comics. And you can feel that there's a character there, but also he's wearing a mask, and we didn't dig into anything yet here. But comic fans who know Chameleon know that over the course of his comics appearances, that mask usually can morph into other characters, so there's a very good chance that's something we would explore in the future as well. Also in episode 8, we have Doc Ock, who's voiced by Hugh Dancy, and it was just incredible as Doc. And we really got to dig into a lot of what makes Doc very fun to play with in this show. In our earlier appearances with Doc, you get to see him selling this tech, but this is the first time we really get to see him let loose. We see the arms in full action. We see him kind of reveling and attacking these officers. And we get to see there's a bit of a showman in him. One thing that I always thought was cool about our Doc Ock is that he and Norman used to work together. So being able to dig into, now that they're apart, what did Doc take away from Norman? And I think it's that kind of like showman, salesman attitude we see on display in a few moments, and really see him get to have fun here. And in episode 10, Doc's fun has landed him in jail, so now he's kind of thinking what's next. And we see he's inspired, he's building something, and we get to see those tentacles return that we saw in his lab in episode 8. But now he's got a grand design, a bigger plan to assumingly attach them to himself to give us the Doc Ock we all know and love. And that's been your friendly neighborhood Spider-Man. Thank you.